I'll start off my name. My name is Yehuda Miller. I own a company called Edge Enterprise Group. I'm selling on Amazon online for about 11 years. Although kind of the olden days when Amazon called us up and said, please sell on our platform. So over the years, we've been selling and manufacture products. And I'm just a regular seller who knows a lot about different things. So we're going to have a panel here so you can ask each person about different topics. So that's who I am. So I'm an e-commerce seller.
My name is Jeremy Greenberg. I'm the founder and CEO of SellerCloud, one of the sponsors of the event. And I developed SellerCloud. I started working on it around 8 years ago, and I have a lot of experience working with different sellers and talking to them on a regular basis, developing features for them to use. And I'm here to help answer questions, give people insights into how to optimize their e-commerce business. And I'll introduce the next person.
Hi, my name is Nasi Einhorn. I've been working at SellerCloud for the past 5 years. I have a lot of experience speaking to people, and I'll try to answer the questions.
Hi, my name is Avram Amzel. I'm working for SellerCloud for the past year as a QA analyst, mainly for the reporting section of SellerCloud and for the integration with QuickBooks. And I have some prior experience to selling on Amazon and eBay.
Okay, so everybody probably has a lot of questions. Everybody came here to ask a lot of questions. So David Schumann, he actually works for me. He's going to start off by asking people for their questions, and here you go.
Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is David Schumann. I'm going to be, so basically this is a question and answer seminar. We could ask questions over here. We have a senior seller on Amazon. We have some guys from SellerCloud, great company. And we are ready to take questions. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask them. And then we also have some pre-recorded questions that were asked in the past, and we're gonna answer them too. So if anyone wants to start, feel free.
Come on, so anybody.
Okay, so let's start with pre-recorded questions. Okay. So the first question we have is as follows. Yes. Okay, if anyone doesn't feel comfortable to get up and ask the question, just want to write down the question, feel free. We have some notepads over here. Ellie's going to be walking around. You could feel free to write it down and send it over. So the first question is as follows. Should I be hiring additional employees or implementing new software? So, yes.
What the question?
Yeah.
So definitely, as a business is it really depends on the stage of the business. But if a business is at the point where you need to start delegating tasks to new people, the answer might be really both. That you might need software before you can hire additional people, but the software needs to be operated by someone, right? So you really need to have enough manpower to get everything done, even with the software. But given that there's only so many hours in the day, very often a software solution can buy you time, essentially. But really, it's only a value to have that software in place once you need that time. If you're really early stage, often it's better to get your hands, dirty, actually doing the work yourself manually. You'll get a better feel for the business, and you'll see what you need, as opposed to expecting the software to guide you what you need. Really, you need to have the software as a solution to a problem. So you need to first grow to a size where you need that software, and definitely as you start to hire people and delegate tasks to other people, then software won't just help them work more efficiently, it'll help you delegate tasks to them and track what's going on. For example, you might want to hire a purchaser in your company. Like I saw someone in the audience over here. So software could be used to generate reports and to track their performance, or to see how many items they listed, or how your sales increased. Now, obviously, you know if your sales increased, but you don't know if you could attribute those sales increases to that employee, to the work that they're doing. So I hope that answers the question.
just want to add, many people think, they're going to have software, and software is kind of going to run their business. They can sit home, go to sleep, and make money. So I just want to refer to, just to understand that Amazon is about working hard, okay? Software, as he said very well, is a kind of a crutch to take you to another level. But if you're thinking to make money by just going to sleep and not working hard, it's not going to work. You got to eat, you got to breathe, sleep your business, and then you'll be successful. So software is great, but you have to know what type of software, and it's not in place for working hard. So that's the ABC to any business is entrepreneurs that are entrepreneurs, and they understand what it means to put in the time.
Yeah, just one more point that sometimes people think that they can just send their goods to FBA and then go to sleep. The truth of the matter is that if you're just working off of Amazon, you actually could be missing a lot. You need some kind of software. On a minimum, there's some cheap packages out there that just tell you, are you making money or are you losing money? Because Amazon, while they have obviously a portal for you to manage your products and your sales, they're not actually going to tell you your profits, because Amazon doesn't know your cost. They don't know your vendors. And, at a minimum, you could sign up for, one of these, they're usually under $100 a month, some type of package just to track your profits. That's probably the starting point.
Thank you, Jeremy and Yehuda. The next question that came up to the table was, we have manual sales versus automatic sales. Which is better and why? Who wants to take the question? I'm guessing FBA versus seller fulfilled. I don't know who wants the question.
Okay, so if I understand the question correctly, the question is it better to do FBA, which means fulfilled by Amazon, or MFN, which is Merchant Fulfillment Network, which is to ship the orders by yourself? So let me just tell you this is my opinion, but my opinion comes based on 11 years of doing logistics. So we used to ship a lot through our own warehouse, and we at certain points were shipping thousands and thousands of orders a day. And then we realized that we're really in the business of logistics. We're not in the business of making good products. So I kind of feel like you have to focus on what you're good at. So Amazon, I think everybody would agree, is the king of logistics. Amazon they have fulfillment centers around the country, around the world. Amazon figured it out, okay? So why would you want to be in the business of shipping? Just focus, the way I say it is focus on what you're good at. So if you're good at manufacturing, you go down to China or whatever how you source your products, then focus on that. If you're good if your skills are in marketing products, then focus on that. But it's a really nice thing to manufacture products, and that's it. Let Amazon take care of it from there on. It's not your problem. Yes?
I was just going to say the exception to that might be when you're making your money in shipping.
Okay, so obviously there's exceptions to everything. There's exceptions to even what I just said, but besides shipping, there's also exceptions to that in many, many cases. If you have big products, it might be oversized issues. There's many, many scenarios that it doesn't make any sense. But it's in general, the general concept is that FBA is an amazing system that let Amazon do the work. You can focus on what you're good at. You're good at, let's say you're good at manufacturing products, become excellent manufacturing, hire somebody who knows marketing, and that's it. Let Amazon do the rest. So that's my thoughts. Anybody else?
I agree with you that Amazon definitely is the king of logistics, but there's a bunch of different marketplaces out there that you have to consider also. Take someone like eBay that you could ship from Amazon, but you have to consider the cost that it's going to cost you to actually ship from Amazon. Versus you have other marketplaces as well, Jet, Walmart. Take someone like Walmart that doesn't allow you to ship from FBA. So you're right that you have to focus on what you're good at, but sometimes you still should go to other marketplaces like Jet, Walmart, eBay, and not necessarily do you have to do the fulfillment on your own. There's a bunch of different fulfillment centers out there that you could work with, or technically do the fulfillment on your own, but it definitely does pay to invest in other marketplaces, and you just have to make it work for you, either fulfilling it on your own, fulfilling it from FBA, getting a 3PL, but definitely something worth investing time in.
The next question is there a way to sell a product FBA if it's shipped in 2 boxes? I'll let you guys answer it first.
I don't think there is a way. As far, if Amazon knows it's one product, then they're going to ship it in one bags.
Unless you, saran wrap the two boxes together. But basically, there is a way if you have a customer buy two products that they'll ship them together. But if Amazon looks at it as one product, I think they want it to be an independent box.
I think in general everybody's right, but I believe if you're a vendor, there's a way that you could specify that it's two boxes. There are times that I bought products on Amazon that came in two boxes. So, and I believe it's through vendor. So if you run into that situation, I would contact Vendor Central or Vendor Express.
So sometimes was it shipping from an Amazon facility or was it shipping? Okay.
Thanks, very interesting question. Next question is like this: with the new UPS rates and handling and selling large items, is it worth it?
Worth it meaning worth it to do what? FBA or worth it to sell? So worth it to sell, the way I look at it is you always look at your margin. So look, if the fees are $1,000, but you're making $1,000 profit, so who cares, right? So it's all based on profit. So if the question is it worth it to do FBA? So then again, I mean, it all boils down to the original question, should you do FBA or not? But at a certain point, Amazon has a program called MFN Prime, which is a program that you could ship FBA, but you could do it from your warehouse. So typically when you deal with big products, I would say that makes a lot of sense. Or typically we deal with very expensive products. You saw a Rolex watch. So you don't want to send it to Amazon and it get lost, it's expensive. So MFN Prime, the way the program works is that Amazon turns your warehouse into a Prime warehouse. You have certain deadlines you have to ship by. But essentially you're working with the Prime deadline. So that works sometimes in scenarios that it doesn't make sense to send it into Amazon. Another time it'll work out if, let's say, it's holiday season and the product is selling very, very fast. So you don't have a week to get it into Amazon. So in a scenario like that, I would say to do MFN Prime through your warehouse. But that program is only for expensive products, maybe large products. A typical product, I don't think personally makes sense. There is this one other scenario that would make sense. It's if you do regional. So okay, I don't want to go into too many details, but there is a regional aspect to that program that if, let's say, we're in New Jersey and it's a one-day shipping, so there the shipping rates would be very low, it would make sense as well, even though it's a cheaper product. But that's all the technicalities of that.
One other thing to consider is that even though if you ship a bunch of big packages UPS ground, you're going to pay a lot. If you ship it freight, like on a pallet, like a really big item like a treadmill or something like that, you'll be sometimes be amazed by how the freight cost is actually comparable to like a small, a reasonably big box, but once you're putting it into the freight system, it could be, goes on a truck by, they have different freight carriers that may be different than your experience shipping a UPS label, but a couple extra steps, maybe filling out the paperwork, but the freight rates are drastically cheaper. So especially if someone's, let's say, sending stuff to FBA, even if you're shipping stuff with Amazon's label, very often if you ship it freight, you could send the same amount of stuff for like a quarter of the price.
Based on the fact that people are starting to buy more and more furniture online, I would say that it definitely does pay to ship it on your own. You just have to be smart about it, as you mentioned, see what your shipping costs are, how you're going to ship it, where you're going to ship it. To send it into FBA, I think is very risky because even if you sell them quickly, there are big boxes and your storage rates are going to be pretty high. So it does pay to start selling, to ship big stuff via UPS, as well as looking into the freight option.
I'm just going to add on that there's always an option to split it. Well, we were considering once, and we're looking into it, is splitting it into 3 different areas. So you get a warehouse in the East Coast, the West Coast, and the Mid-America, and you're going to have the same item stored in 3 different places. Obviously, you're going to have to work out a bit where your sales are coming from usually and kind of average it out. But if you do, you can save a lot on shipping, but just having a much closer. That's what Amazon does. Essentially, the way they're able to afford to have 2-day shipping to whole America is by having warehouses pretty close to where you're living at the end of the day. By now, there's warehouses everywhere in America, so it's much cheaper for them to ship it out. So if you have the item stored in 3 different places throughout the U.S., or even 2, you're already saving yourself a lot of shipping by having it closer to where the item needs to get to. So.
Just one more point I want to add regarding that is that kind of what Amazon did was Amazon raised the expectations. They kind of raised the bar that people expect everything to get there in 2 days. So right away, if it's not in 2 days, everybody's, where's my item? But I think when it comes to like furniture, bigger products, before I mentioned MFN Prime, but now I'm thinking about it, people's expectations when it comes to bigger products don't necessarily at this point expect to get it in 2 days. So if you ship it and it gets there in 3 to 5 days, it goes ground UPS across the country, people are not so upset about that. That's just my thought. So again, because you could ship it the cheaper option and still make some profit as well.
I think we should just read these 2 questions together. They're very similar questions. Question number 1 is, other than constant advertising, is there another secret source? That's question number 1. And then to add to it, I think, is question number 2, which is divided into 2 parts. Part 1 is, how do you optimize your listing? And part 2 is, how do you advertise manually best?
David is the king of this, so.
You guys go for it.
Okay, so let's talk about listing products on Amazon, just to give you a little idea. I'm of the opinion that there's no magical thing. If you're going to build first of all, let's start with the sourcing, right? If you bring in a great product that adds value to the marketplace, a really good product. I've done this. If you bring in good products and you add value and you really, everybody sells let's just say everybody sells a bat and then they sell a bowl. And you put a bat with a bowl. You just create some value, right? And you really seriously create value to the marketplace and you take amazing pictures and you make really good products. And I'm talking about legitimately good. The product sells. It does. Because people, at the end of the day, instead of just buying one, they'd rather get something that's a better product. Now, of course, you have to have a good price. And of course, if you have a product that has amazing titles and amazing keywords and excellent pictures, you hire a photographer, and you do real nice pictures, nice everything. And you follow all the protocols, and you build top-notch products, maybe A+ pages on the bottom, product will sell. Now, you want it to really take off, there's advertising. Now, advertising is very expensive, right? So you do advertising, it's very, very expensive, but you're hoping, wait, in the back of your mind, you're gonna do advertising, and eventually what's gonna happen is, it'll take off organically. Now, that's true, but at the end of the day is, then you have a competitor, and then you pay more for advertising, and then more for advertising, and you don't realize that you're really losing on it. So, I think it all starts off by, you go back to the drawing board, and you want to have great products that have great margins. If you're buying the product locally, right away, you're not sourcing right. But if you source a product and you source it right, and you have serious margins, okay? And I'm talking about real margins. And also, let's just think another thing. If the product if the weight is a little bit too much, then it has to go to the next tier. Or let's say dimensions are too big, it has to go to a different tier. Okay, that adds to your cost. That adds, So the idea is to think it through ahead of time and build really, really good listings. Then the product will sell. Now, let's talk about advertising. So advertising, you can talk to David Schumann. He's an expert on the topic.
Okay, so I give my 2 cents. I'm just going to take this assuming that we're talking about private label. When we're talking about private label, I always try answering one basic question. The question is, why would anyone buy my product versus anyone else's product on Amazon? And I find that by answering that question, most times I'll get sales, just by that. Because that is what people are looking for. It will be your price will be lower. It will be your picture will be better. Your title is explaining more. There's more information on the listing itself. What's happening with this product? What can you do with this product? All those kind of stuff are what's going to help people decide. Your product is better than your competitors, and that's what you need. That's where you're going to get your sales. I'm personally not against, but I personally don't like using secret sources and all different, secret ideas. Yes, there are stuff out there. Yes, there are stuff that, at work. And, I find that every seller here and there uses a bit in order to push his items. But I find that essentially if you go ahead and you're able to answer the question of why is everyone buying your product more than anyone else's, you really got yourself sales. Now, to be clear, when you say why is everyone buying my product more than anyone else, it has to be something that's clear on the listing and it makes sense. Because I have a lot of people that come to me and say, like, I want to advertise my product. It's a great product. Inside the lining, I find it's much better. The lining of this product is much better than any other lining in the market. So that's a great story. But at the end of the day, no one on Amazon is going to buy the product more because the lining is better, unless it's specifically that people care about the lining. So having a better product that is not noticeable that it's better, and no one on Amazon that they're just going through the listing and they're seeing it is going to know that it's better is not going to help. Having something that's uniquely better by your product, if it's price, if it's the picture that catches people's eyes, because a lot of time we find that by having good pictures and having really good pictures that are showing the product itself and it's showing it very clearly and sometimes showing the way it's used and all of those stuff, but having a very clear picture that catches people's eyes and it's very clear from the first second what the product is makes a big, big difference. That's from the point of optimizing your listings. From the point of advertising manually best, I would say that the way we find it is we make automatic advertising always in the beginning. We also put in some basic keywords that we find that work for us. We think that the product makes sense, whatever it is, and then we're going to follow the reports and advertising, and automatic advertising, and keep going through them. And we also, when we put in the manual keywords, we're going to put them broad. So broad keywords, what they do is they also bring a lot of stuff that are basically automatic. They bring a lot of keywords that you wouldn't think about. So it's similar to automatic campaigns, so you'll go through them also. And then eventually you're able to take the good keywords that are converting well, and the ACoS is not too high, you're going to bring them over to the manually exact, you're going to make them manually exact in the manual campaigns, and that makes a big difference. We really find it makes a difference. And slowly, what we do is we try following also what products actually climbed up organically, and once they climb to the top in those specific keywords, we actually search the keywords in Amazon, we see where our product is holding, and we're going to follow it, and when it gets to the top, we're actually going to remove the campaign and see if it will keep on its own without the campaign, because at the end of the day, if you're spending money and you don't need to spend money, it's a big shame. So, that's that.
Okay, just 1 second. So I want to add one more point to that. Amazon kind of measures from when you go on the page until you spy. And Amazon says, listen, when somebody searches for this item, how fast or how likely they are to buy that product. Now, if somebody goes to that page and they don't buy, that actually counts against you. So I wanted to skip the advertising. So in a case where your ACoS is very high, which means that your average cost of advertising is very high, which means you're not converting, sales are not coming from those keywords so much. Not only are you costing you money, okay, it's also killing your listing. Bad ACoS is expensive and it hurts your pocket and also hurts your listing. So it's something to think about. So people who try to get to every click, they want to get, they want to have deep pockets, they want to spend a lot of money. If it doesn't convert to a sale, then it's going to count against you. So it's something to really think about. That's just my thought on that.
That's one thing on that.
Is there a specific ACoS you don't want to go above that will trigger listing on a percentage wise? That's tough every.
Listen, regarding ACoS, every person has different ideas of ACoS. So, look, I mean, obviously, I think for me, I say it's 15%. There's some people like 20%, some people 25%. Everyone has different, measuring rod. Yes, what's your question?
So my question was, what type of strategies do you employ when managing customers' expectations in the listings and that? So there are certain customers that are just naturally angry, I'll say, for whatever reason. They're supposed to get it at 4 o'clock. It showed up at 5, and either Amazon did the shipping and they're not even answering them as quickly, but they're leaving you negative feedback. And Amazon won't take responsibility for the feedback because sometimes there is some word they used in that feedback that their computer systems don't take it out. And I deal with that constantly.
Okay, so the question is as follows. When, we're dealing with customers all day long, that's what we do on Amazon, and customers have certain expectations. So what kind of processes do we have in order to somehow manage the expectation or to deal with customers whose expectations were not met, such in times as negative keywords and stuff like that, negative feedback, sorry. When you have negative feedback, negative reviews, stuff like that, where Amazon will now remove them and kind of trying to deal with the customers afterwards and see what we can do to fix it up.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay, so it's a great question. Okay, so I can tell you're a sophisticated seller, you're dealing with this type of problem. So if you ever mad at a seller and you want to really get it back, you put the word terrible as your feedback. Because that feedback Amazon will not remove. Why? Because it's not about the product. After all, maybe, but maybe not, you know. And the guys in India, Big Lam Dunham, and they figured out that, no, they're not removing it. So it's, you know, the way I look at it's a numbers game. Obviously, there's some feedback that you're not going to get off. It's just the way it is. The only reason why I even try to get feedback is to counteract the bad feedbacks. So part of doing business is that you have to accept that there's going to be bad feedback, and you can't please all your customers. You can try. So obviously, you try to make everybody happy. In the scenario that Amazon won't take it off, Amazon will tell you, please reach out to the customer, and we noticed that you haven't reached out. So what did we try to do? We reached out. And guess what? Amazon still didn't take it off. So basically, you go in circles, and essentially, I think it's the cost of doing business. It's just the way it is. Your feedback will be 99% or 100, it won't affect you. Once it goes to 98 already, and people say that in the scenario it's not private label, potentially you could lose in the buy box, you could lose. But again, the reason why you want good feedback is to counteract the bad feedback. So that's the way I look at it.
To advise using like Feedback 5 or one of those. So what I found is when we used them, we woke up the dead, I'll call it, and they came out of everywhere complaining. But sometimes they thought they were answering to Amazon, but they were actually answering to us, so we had one more chance to make it a little happier.
Yeah, I personally find it amazing that Amazon wants me to reach out to the customer for feedback. I have a funny feeling that's going to disappear. Again, it's my personal opinion. I think in a case that's filled by Amazon, I feel that the feedback means nothing. It's pretty much a feedback about Amazon, and why should that affect me, right? So it's one of those things that's there, but I personally wouldn't be surprised if Amazon changed it. The same way Amazon did change the order defect rate with Amazon about 3 years ago, split it up between FBA and MFN. I believe they can do similar feedback because it just doesn't make sense logically. So it takes some time for them to come around, but that's just my thoughts on that.
And I think you also have to take into account the type of product. There's certain products that are prone to get bad feedback, like they have a high failure rate. For example, we had one customer who was selling used products, and used products are like new, but sometimes they have more problems than brand new items. And what the strategy they took was to actually separate their products into a separate account. And Amazon actually gave them permission to open up a separate Amazon account. That way their feedback wouldn't be affected on the new products that they're selling from the used products that they're selling. There are other people who just choose to sell the problematic products on other channels. There are other channels that have a different type of customer. For example, eBay customer is very different than an Amazon customer. They're much more likely to reach out to the seller rather than to the average Amazon customer. I always feel they think they're buying it from Amazon. Very, very often. They don't really realize that they're buying it from a third-party seller. So often that helps you in the sense that they're more likely to buy it because they trust Amazon. But at the same time, if they don't really think there's a person there to talk to if there's a problem. eBay is a very different type of relationship with the merchant. The people who buy stuff on eBay, they realize they're buying it from people, and they're more likely to discuss it with you, talk it out, before they make a final complaint. But some strategies to sell things in different places in different ways could avoid the damage that it could cause.
Based on the request that we got in SalaCloud, I would say that what people are looking for is more targeted to certain products that they want to send the feedback on, and only if the delivery date was in a certain time period after the order date, that's you're sure you're going to have positive feedback, and you're dealing with a happy customer versus a chance of just sending everyone everything all the time.
Next question, pre-recorded question is, does anybody make money dropshipping?
The short answer is no. The long answer is yes, it's possible. But again, you can't just go to a vendor and say, okay, I'm taking your vendor fee and just throwing it up and I'm going to make money here. 95% of the time, I would say it fails, and not only does it fail, you get negative feedback because you usually don't know what you're selling. Usually, a big percentage of the products that you're putting up there, when you're posting to the wrong GASIN, you're relying on the data that's on Amazon, you don't know what you're actually dealing with. versus there is a few benefits of actually doing drop shipping. First of all, you have the benefit of seeing what products actually sell. If you see there's a product that actually is selling 10, 15, 20 pieces a day, you know that maybe it's time to actually pull into your own warehouse, buy in bulk from the vendor, negotiate a price. That's one benefit. You have another benefit that if you're actually doing business with the vendor usually gives you a better price on other products. But to simply take the vendor feed and just drop ship out of the blue usually doesn't work.
So I've done business with somebody who does drop shipping and does a whole lot of money and makes a lot of money. But you're right, it's a very specific.
Again, the rule is no, but there's an exception to every rule.
One exception that one common thread between the exceptions is access to the product. If you're dealing with a vendor that gives this vendor fee to everyone, then it's going to be almost impossible to give a competitive price. But if you can develop a unique relationship with a vendor or an exclusive relationship with a vendor, for example, products that have limited access, like brand name musical instruments, for example, or some item that can only be bought in a music store, or let's say a camera that Canon won't sell me directly, they'll only sell it to a camera store. Those are classic examples of where if you have a unique relationship with a vendor, you have unique access to the product, now you have an opportunity to actually mark up the product to profit off of it.
Just want to say one point. I think everyone's 100% correct, I agree, but just one point. Over the years, I noticed that the people that are successful in general are people that are kind of involved with the market. About 10, 11 years, or maybe more, it was all about dropshipping. Then it went to buying other people's products. And then it went to private label. And then it'll go somewhere else. I'm already trying to figure out where it's going. But the idea is the people that are ultimately...
Customers to leave feedback when they're happy.
Question: how do you actually get customers to leave feedback when they're happy?
So I made an order on the website, and it said, and I got an email a few weeks later, it says, please leave feedback. Click the link, it says, are you happy or you're not? I said, not. I clicked, and then it takes me to the page to contact the owner. And then I went back and said, I am happy, and then it says, please leave feedback. So a very simple strategy came up with to avoid bad feedback. But in general, it's about thinking out of the box, coming up with good ideas. And I guess this person who was a bit larger company, and they were trying to get some good feedbacks, but it worked. And by the way, the link it took it wasn't Amazon. It took it to Google reviews or to whatever it was, and it was just a good idea. So I guess by thinking out of the box, you always come up with some good strategies.
Do the cards help? Sometimes you get product with those cards. I don't know.
Have you ever left feedback?
The next pre-recorded question is: how do changes in tax laws affect online retailers?
Right now, Amazon changed their tax law, or I don't know if Amazon changed it, but they're collecting taxes for any seller that ships to a customer in the state of Washington. So the customer is going to pay for the tax, like Amazon sold the product, even though it's a third-party seller. And Amazon will be collecting the tax and submitting it to the tax authority. That was as of January 1st, and I think they're going to be going to other states too. Newegg, as of February 1st, I think is doing that in a few states already. I think they're doing it in California, New Jersey, a couple of other states are doing that. And the same idea, they're collecting the tax from the customer and submitting it to the tax authority. So I don't know if that really affects the bottom dollar, or it's just something to be aware of.
All I can say is make sure you pay your taxes.
I think when very often there are third-party resellers that are selling on a listing that actually Amazon is selling directly. And I think a lot of people see that if you buy it from a third-party reseller, you can avoid paying tax. And that situation might change, because basically it's not hard to imagine that Amazon will start collecting tax on every single order from every state, no matter where the third-party seller is located and where they're, as long as they're both in the United States or, it's being delivered in the United States, it is possible they'll start collecting tax and they'll start evening the playing field and taking away an advantage from the third-party sellers.
I always have a different opinion on everything. My approach is that right now it's in the courts, so it's not clear. So I know there's a lot of services out there trying to tell you that this is clear cut, but in essence, if you do a little research, yes, I spoke to attorneys, everybody knows it's not clear cut. So look, you might get a tax bill, down the line that says you owe money, possibly, but just look at it. If you do, it's going to be you with another 100,000 sellers or more getting the same thing. So you're in good hands. So I'm not telling you that you should pay, you can do what you want, but just understand that it's in the courts and it's definitely debated on all the time. I know the state of Washington, for example, the state of California rather is right now trying to fish out. They're doing Google searches. They're trying to fish out sellers and telling them they should register for Nexus. Listen, it's in the courts and it's not clear cut. It's possible you owe tax liability. It's possible not. So, in business it's all about risk. So you take a risk or you don't take a risk. Listen, you sell on Amazon, every day is a risk. So why are you so worried?
What about the inventory storage tax? Everyone's trying to skate that now. It's California. Well, it's not only California, now it's Washington, Colorado. It's also the same thing. I'm not sure. Not the sales tax, but the tax for storage facilities. So I'm not sure what the laws are. The laws are
Just to repeat what Nussi said, I have a slightly different opinion, just with my experience, but no matter how much the tax appears to be that you might owe, the amount of penalties and interest might exceed that. And definitely it might be worth waiting a year or something like that to wait how things happen over the course of a year. But definitely don't let it linger too long.
Listen, the great part of we can agree to disagree. I agree with you 100%. I'm just trying to say is that at the end of the day is it's not clear cut. So, if you talk to attorneys, they'll tell you it's not clear cut. And I understand the services out there, and maybe you should sign up. It might not be a bad idea. But I'll tell you, if you sell on Amazon, you can be successful, but you take a risk. Every day on Amazon's a risk, right? You never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Tomorrow they change the fees, tomorrow they suspend it. Amazon's it's like the Wild West. So it's a risk. Now, this is even more than less, it's even less than a risk, rather, because it's not even clear cut. It's very unclear. So, everyone got to take their own risks.
Thank you. We're about to end this session. Is there anyone else who has any questions before we finish up? Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Please make your way to the main room over there for the next